Prep Sports Now is back. I'm Case Kiefer along with Ray Brewer for another week at looking around the valley at high school football. I feel like every other week I've come in here, at least recently, look over the scores, and there's at least one or two, maybe even three or four surprises to dissect from the week before. But the scores were pretty cut and dry last week around Las Vegas. No huge surprises. No big fallout at the top of the rankings. A lot of blowouts. Anything stand out to you last Friday, Ray?
Yeah, so I think you hit it right, Case. I think this was one of those weeks we seem to get every year where um, everything just is glaringly obvious when we do the show, and it works out that way. Um, there was, 9 games played by a running clock.
Oof, that's half, right?
Yeah,
About,
so,
yeah.
so when you start that, I think the closest game was Spring Valley losing to Sierra Vista, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's the only game I think we got wrong picking last
Yeah.
week. I might have missed one other one. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, 22-13 Sierra Vista over Spring Valley. So I might be a little bit glossing over the Mountain Lions there. Or are they just the Lions now?
I think they're the Mountain Lions.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
They switched something.
Did they?
Who knows? But that's a big win for them. We should give them some love. I know we're usually talking about the same teams, but good win by Sierra Vista. Are they on the up? Are they a team to look? Well, what you learn about that game from talking to the coaches?
So the only thing I know about Sierra Vista is they're much more organized than they were last year. And in the 4A, everybody has live action and everybody's going to have a chance to win a playoff game. Ultimately, you want to avoid Coronado, right? It's Coronado. That's so
Silverado.
That's so Andy's going to kill me. Ultimately, you want to avoid Silverado. And this week, I'm getting there. Silverado and Coronado and Shadow Ridge play this week. And that's kind of the game where the winner doesn't have to play Silverado in the semifinals and they get the state championship game. So anything could happen there. Silverado this year, Case. Are you bracing for this?
I saw they gave up a safety last week, apparently. Unless you made a typo.
No,
they lost 48-2.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know how that happened. Maybe they ran out of the end zone, but Silverado has scored 316 points this year. They've given up 23 points.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
23 points.
Yeah, I don't see anyone beating them.
I just would like to see them play like Liberty or Gorman.
Yeah.
What would you set the line at in that game?
We've seen it before, right? It hasn't been close. Maybe a little bit closer this year, but I still think I'd be shocked if they hang within 21 of either of them.
Okay.
Is that crazy? Especially Gorman. Look what we already had this Gorman discussion 2 weeks ago. No one's hanging with Gorman this year. This is one of their best teams ever, it looks like, which is a little crazy to say. I'm not saying the number one, but they're up there. They're one of the best ever, right?
They've got, like we said at the beginning of the year, 21 and 24 kids have offers.
Yeah,
that's tough to get.
Yeah, they're not going to go undefeated, as they already lost the one game, but they barely lost. So they're not going to go down with the national championship teams, but they're right there. Silverado is the same level above the 4A as they are above the 5A, but there's still a gap, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I really like this Coronado at Shadow Ridge matchup, right? Coronado. Well, first of all, we know Shadow. That was the team I had anointed 2 years ago when the new 4A came as a team to beat because they have that misdirection, right? And you just can't show up and defend it. And they've got, John Wilson, Colomé at quarterback, Jaquise running the ball. They're a legit team. And Coronado, I saw on TV, Chubbs Martinez D-line, he's going to break through a lot and make some plays. So I think there's a pretty interesting dynamic there, Case. And I'm very curious as how it's going to work out. And I know it's not a sexy 5A game, but it's a game that's going to be close. And we haven't had many of these this year, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, you don't have to sell me on this game. It's got to be 2 versus 3. And I do take exception to say you're not just going to show up and shut them down because I mean, Coronado kind of did last year, right? Wasn't that game like in the 20s, 24 to 21 or something? Oh, I remember well, just because we had an argument about this on the podcast. I was all over Coronado. And of course, Shadow Ridge is like the new Las Vegas high to you. You'll never pick against them.
No.
I think you even picked them to win the state championship last year before Silverado's ascent. I'm just saying I don't get much right, but that was one I got right last year. I've had Coronado over Shadow Ridge. It's at Shadow Ridge this year, which I think is no small detail. Another thing, I'll stick to my guns and always say home field means something. And obviously, it was very close last year. I think they might have even had a delay of some kind. There were some extenuating circumstances, but it was a great game last year. Coronado came out on top. This year, it seemed like they would match up similarly, and it should be a really good game again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just it's cool to me let's be honest. Silverado and Gorman are the unquestioned runaway favorites to win state, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say locks at this point.
Locks. They're like Alabama.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Alabama's not a lock, but I digress.
You know what I'm saying. Yeah. For you, they're not a lock, but for a lot of people, Alabama is synonymous with dominating football. But either way, I like how there is a big game to be played and kids who are going to be in the spotlight that aren't from a traditional school that we cover.
Yeah, it should be a good game. We'll get to the picks of that one. The schedule otherwise looking kind of light. I don't know. Any of these other games stand out to you? I think that's for sure far and away the best one of the week. Usually we have 2 or 3 headliners. I don't even know who I would fill in below Coronado at Shadow Ridge.
Well, the game that used to be really good, well, I don't know if it used to ever be good, but it's interesting for us Hendersonites, which you're in Henderson, I know.
Green Valley and Liberty?
Yeah.
I don't think
there was a rap
close.
song made about that.
That's true. Remember? That was like 10 years ago now at this point or something, right?
We got some credit in the song.
We did?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Or no, that was the Vegas kid that wrote the rap about us.
Yeah, I think that was Vegas. I think the Green Valley Liberty song was more questionable, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's not going to get played on the local hip hop station, to say the least. But I still think for Henderson, there's that rivalry of the kids growing up playing against each other, right? Henderson Cowboys, Green Valley Knights, and sharing the Friday night spotlight, I think, is still semi-intriguing. Even though Green Valley's a one-win team, maybe the hardest schedule in the 5A outside of the teams that travel, right? Every week they're playing like a who's who. And we'll let bygones be bygones. Of course, case your Desert Pines Jaguars eventually will play Liberty, and I think it will be a close game.
And you'll probably pick Desert Pines
maybe
every year.
Do we not give the kid from DP had 2 pick sixes last week?
Who's that?
103 yards for a touchdown, and the other one I think was maybe 75 or oh crap, I can't think of the yard.
Well, it's pretty impressive. 28-10 win that was against Green Valley. 2 pick sixes. I mean, you're happy to ever have one. So quite the night for that kid whose name you're still struggling to get.
No, it's because I can't say it.
Yeah.
I've got it and I know it, and I think he goes by. Well, first of all, let's give Desert Pines its due.
Okay.
They've got a ton of ninth graders who are playing real well. Now, of course, ninth graders aren't developed and are probably not going to stand a good chance against Liberty. Trey Jackson's the kid's name. But another freshman, Messiah Mingo, had 2 touchdowns. So they've got some good kids, and they're making it happen.
What's that say about 2 or 3 or 4 years from now?
Well, hopefully the kids stay at Desert Pines for the 4 years.
If they do, though, they could be a real by the time that's a senior class, that could be a real group to watch, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't disagree with you, Case. You're reading my lips.
All right. Yeah, we got to see how those classes stick together. And I know numbers right now are a problem all across the valley in high school football. I know you have a story running about that this week in the Sun. Can't wait to check that out. But kind of answer some questions of, I've been wondering what's happened to some of these programs and why the numbers are so down. What did you find this week reporting on that?
So my reporting led me to one solution. In 2020, there's just not enough juniors, CK, right? In 2020, that was the year that was canceled because of the pandemic.
So they would have been freshmen then. You mean there's not enough juniors now?
Yeah, there's not enough juniors now.
Right.
Yeah. So their sophomore year last year was the COVID. There was all those pauses and cancellations, but they got some seasons in. So if you're a junior, you didn't play freshman football, right? And then as a sophomore, you're playing for the first time JV, and you're only getting a handful of games. And now all of a sudden it's Friday night and you're on the field. So we're talking, unfortunately, a lot of the schools that have been around for a while, those institutions are really struggling. Bonanza, right? I write about a kid from Del Sol who'd only played in 10 games. Valley, Chaparral, my Chaparral Cowboys. It's a variety of reasons, but like you were a varsity kid as a sophomore, right? But you grew up playing football. You understood how to put the pads on and where to stand and all that other stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, think about these kids who are just getting into the sport when they're 14-year-old ninth graders, having six games against people on other teams, right? These schools can't afford to go to camp. They've got no reps. If you're a bench player, you might have played like a handful of downs. And what we're seeing, Case, there was a team last week that had -8 yards for the entire game.
Oof.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, I would think so.
And then there was another team that only crossed midfield one time. And then I feel bad because I get these coaches on the phone to do the recaps. And I'm like, well, how do you think they played? And I'm thinking in the back of their head, they got to be thinking, that's the dumbest question I've ever been asked. It's basically an exhibition. How do they play? I mean, what are you going to say? I mean, without making the other team sound awful, it's embarrassing.
Well, it's just, I guess you have to judge by your own standards. And yeah, it is. I don't know what to say about that. It is very disappointing. I guess my follow-up question would be: does there seem to be a path to prepare this? Are we going to get back to the high school football we more know and love by the end of the next couple of years?
I don't know. I mean, I would say that it's not going to be better next year because this class of 24 is going to be seniors now. So I would suspect there's going to be a lot of less participation. But the other problem is like, I know 2 schools that didn't have a coach in July, right? So Liberty and Arborview and Gorman and Faith, they're lifting weights all January, right? They're going through spring practice. They're going to camp. And other schools don't have a coach. Well, how are you going to beat them?
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. Like, I hate to say this, when you and me were kids, and I'm making you a lot older than you are, because I'm 11 years older than you.
Sounds about right.
Okay.
I feel plenty old. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but you're young at heart. You could still.
I don't know. I don't know
you
about
could still
that.
dunk. You could touch the rim.
I don't know about that.
It was like you would go from football to basketball or wrestling to baseball or track, and then football. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now so many people specialize in one sport, right? It's rare to see a 3-sport athlete unless it's like cross country and track.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you have like Liberty, for example, first day they lift weights in January, they're going to have more people there than 3 other programs combined, probably, and that's why I got a lot of respect. You rip me so much because I love Las Vegas High, but my guy, Eric Capetillo over there, he gets the most out of that. He has kids in the weight room participating and running it the right way. And he has to milk every last minute out of that to get his team to be where they're at. And they're not world beaters. They're in the 4A, right? They're probably going to they beat Basic 14-0 last week.
We both got that one right. Hey, I'm on the Las Vegas train too. You would have been shocked I picked them.
Yeah,
and there it goes,
yeah.
14-0.
But there's a guy who puts his entire life into every day getting these kids fed and lifting to get the most out of them. Like they're one step away from being El Dorado. No offense to El Dorado. And my guy Matthew Gallegos is having a great year. But there's not 40 qualified head coaches to lead these programs. And then you got guys who are really qualified, like Ice and Barney, right? And now they're coaching
Isola and Barton to translate.
And now they're coaching privates or charter schools.
Yeah.
So they're out of the school district. Well, who's coaching the inner city's kids, the at-risk schools? You get somebody like Don Willis, who's great. He's a veteran. He's been around Oklahoma, Clark here, Chap. And he can't they've won one game this year. Right? You got to have the resources. And it's just a shame. And I know we talk a lot about realignment. Realignment was supposed to fix this, but they're still the haves. Coronado is the haves, right? It's arguably the most affluent school in town. Would you agree?
You would know better than me up there for sure. Seems like a lot of
arguably-
people want to get in the school district. Yes.
Arguably.
Yeah.
And then, Shadow Ridge, which has got a ton of participation, and somehow Sunrise Mountain's going to be asked to beat them. Here's how the district thinks of Sunrise Mountain case. There was a fire in February and it tore down their bleachers. It hasn't been fixed yet.
Ooh.
You think if the bleachers at Coronado burnt down, would they be sitting there waiting for an estimate and insurance paperwork or whatever? No, it'd be fixed because it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
So why can't we get, if I'm a principal of a school and I'm hiring somebody, I'm not sitting there talking to you about your youth team or all this other rigmarole. I want to know, what are you going to do from January to August to win football games? I don't care what you do in August. Everybody's going to do the same thing in August. What are you going to do from January to August? How many days are you going to have the weight room open? What's your plan? Is that a good strategy?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I feel like I'm always saying this, but with all these things, it's just such a complex issue. There's a lot that goes into it.
Case.
I don't know how to fix it. I wish there was someone smarter than me than in a better position that could, but there does not seem to be, which I get. So I get your frustration as well.
You and me, we don't know anything about education. We're journalists. A school teacher doesn't know anything about journalism. They're school teachers, right? I'm not Jesus Jara. I'm not Pam Sloan. I'm not Tim Jackson. Neither are you. You're Case Keeper.
Yeah.
Right? You got big problems on your hands. I did too. We're trying to publish every day.
Yeah.
I can't figure this out for them. But one solution I had before we get on to the picks, and tell me if this is a bad idea. Okay, you ready?
All right, I'm listening.
Okay, so let's look at the Northeast. Sunrise Mountain, El Dorado, and let's say Mojave, which is kind of North Las Vegas. That Sunrise Mountain, El Dorado, and say Desert Pines, right? 3 schools that can't fill lower level teams. Even though Desert Pines has a great varsity team, sending a bunch of kids D1, their lower levels aren't great. Would you be in favor of calling it the Northeast Unified Lions, where you would get a team of all 3 schools and the kids would get reps and then they would play together and they'd play 10 games? And your home school, if you needed to pluck somebody up on game day, you could do it. But you'd get the experience to play, you'd learn where to stand, and there wouldn't be constant games being canceled. Bad idea or good idea?
I could get with it. I like it. Should, in theory, make you more competitive. And
but you know why it'll never work?
Why? It's not how it's ever been.
Well, but another reason why is because we say, okay, everybody come play on this 9th grade team, and say we get 50 kids to play on a 9th grade team. And Unified A, the Lions, the Northeast Lions, they're going to play the Northtown Dragons, right?
Okay.
Mojave, Cheyenne, which is decimated, and Canyon.
Okay.
right? Even though Canyon's still in the 5A. Well, say this ninth grade team goes undefeated and we become friends, right? I want to keep playing with you, Case. You're my friend.
Okay.
Okay. But you go to Sunrise Mountain and I go to El Dorado.
Okay. But you're on the same team, right?
For this combined lower level deal.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden, I'm being recruited over to El Dorado. And now Sunrise Mountain doesn't have a varsity team. You see what I'm saying? Or Desert Pines, a team that's got open seats, gets people to come in on its magnet. And it creates a mega team.
Yeah.
I just think there needs to be a way, especially when we're talking safety, to get these kids at Del Sol, Shap, Valley, El Dorado. I mean, Leon Evans is our guy at Rancho. The guy coached in college, Case. Head coach in college. And he's got Rancho only losing by 21 to Virgin Valley. They should name a road after him somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was so bad. There was a coach of one of the teams last year that was like 23 years old, and the poor kid had no assistance. And nobody Case is doing it right. There's no coaches in the press box. Think about that. How could you see the whole game from the sideline?
Yeah.
Let's get to the pitch.
That's just, I feel like there's just so many issues you've brought up. It was an epic rant. I commend you for that, but there's just so many. It's like every sentence you say, there's another issue.
The weird part is I touched your hand at one point. Very, very nice. Anyways,
for dramatic effect.
We forgot about I'm looking at your screen. We forgot about the game this week.
What's the game?
The banner game.
Oh, okay. So do you want to start with that? Spring Valley and Bonanza. Spring Valley looking to bounce back from that loss last week. We mentioned to Sierra Vista. Bonanza been up and down this year. They got blown out by Shadow Ridge last week, but they've had some ups. Could this be a close one?
No. I think Spring Valley kills them.
All right.
But I love that over the years, each school putting $20 for a banner has turned into something that's very cool and memorable.
They just had to put up $20 back in the day.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, look at that. That's like something you put on the side of your fence when you're doing a lemonade sale. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
Gabby's going to sell some lemonade on the weekends and try to bring some extra cash in.
Yeah, but it seems like Spring Valley's better this year, so they're going to keep the banner.
Yeah.
We're both on Spring Valley. I guess we'll get to the game of the week. We already kind of talked about, but Coronado at Shadow Ridge. Any chance Coronado could do it back-to-back years?
So Shadow Ridge is wildly inconsistent when they play teams that are equal or better than them. But I think the fact that it is at their place, they have won so many games in a row. They appear to be clicking on all cylinders. Granted, they've played nobody. I'm taking the Stangs. I think it's going to be a one-touchdown game.
Yeah, it's hard not to be kind of won over by their skill players. It seems like they're going to have probably the better playmakers on there. That's not to say Coronado can't win. I don't know, those playmakers for Shadow Ridge, and I'm disappointed that you brought up that it's at their place because that's my argument. You say that doesn't matter. That's really the difference to me here. I took Coronado last year because it was at home, and I thought they were the second and third best teams. I still think it's pretty close, but Shadow Ridge at home with some guys that can really run. I like Shadow Ridge here in a close game, just like you.
Oh, we agree.
Yeah.
Like-minded.
Yeah, I can't quite get to Coronado as much as I want to do it. My school district, but I can't do it this year. I'm going to go with Shadow Ridge. Green Valley at Liberty. We already touched on it, but I think Liberty should win this one big.
I would agree. And I think the fact that it is kind of a Henderson rivalry that it'll be on their radar. So it's not like they're going to sleepwalk through a one-win team.
Yeah, so we are both on Liberty. Foothill at Arborview, two teams coming off wins. Arborview blew out Palo Verde 45-3 last week, and Foothill blew out Legacy 46-6. So it seems like the Falcons have kind of turned things around. We had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but I don't think they're going to have a good time going all the way up to Arborview for this game.
Yeah, I think Arborview's kind of, despite getting completely demolished by Gorman, I think they're still a top five team. They're the the anti argument I just had. They have so many kids, they have to make cuts because they don't have enough helmets and shoulder pads to go around. So, I mean, I just think Arbor rules. Sorry to go back to my tangent.
Yeah, Harborview is going to get this one. Western at Moapa Valley. Speaking of long bus rides, not going to be fun for the Warriors to play in Overton.
Yeah, and this is after Western got dropped to 3A. They have, beat a charter school and Valley this year, so better than usual for the Warriors. But the other part of this coin, CK, is, does Moapa Valley and Virgin Valley get any better rotating playing Valley and Western in consecutive weeks?
I mean, probably not, but look at the schedule. This is the way all across town, and they've had some tough games. Wasn't that long ago when you were talking me into Slam beating them?
Yeah,
Moapa.
Slam's got Boulder this week in a game that I was torn on, actually.
Oh, yeah, that is an interesting one. But, yeah, that's just the way things are. Moapa's going to win that one big. From blowout to another blowout, Silverado is going to be well past Cheyenne within the first few minutes of the game.
I would think that this game's going to get ugly quick.
Yeah, start that running clock because that's what's going to happen there. Finally, here's one we can maybe actually break down and get your thoughts on. Desert Oasis at Cimarron.
Yeah, I'm using my Gorman hangover theory with Cimarron because they took it on the chin last week to Silverado.
Oh, two Silverado. Okay,
gotcha. Silverado.
It's a Silverado hangover, though, then.
Yeah, so the Silverado hangover. I think Desert Oasis is probably a notch or two better than Cimarron, and I got the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I might go Cimarron here. I think I agree with you. Desert Oasis should probably be the favorite, but I know Cimarron had some experience this year. Desert Oasis has been impressive, but I don't know. I think it's close. I'm going to go with the home team and Cimarron Memorial. So we're finally different on one game. I don't think we'll be different on this one. Mojave at Sierra Vista. Does Sierra Vista get a little winning streak going here after last week's upset win?
I think they do.
All right, so Sierra Vista ×2. I can't take Mojave either. Basic at Del Sol. Ooh, Basic in a little bit of a slide now. Lost to Las Vegas, lost the Henderson Bowl. I know you were high on the Wolves coming into the season. Are you a little disappointed with their recent trajectory?
I mean, if Marcellus Moore doesn't get hurt, who knows what's happened.
Okay.
I mean, I think that kid is that dynamic, and he's a difference maker. But with that said, Del Sol is hurting, and Basic gets back on track. Shades of 2009.
I just read that. That's interesting. Was the field goal actually good? There's got to be video of it. It was 2009.
I'm telling you right now, you get Preston Goroff and the Cahills in a room together, and they would have the greatest argument of all time.
But there's got to be a video? I'm sure they have film of it. Can't we just see? Can't we just look? I feel like this should be a right answer. No gray area.
This is the year Gorman won state with Tony for the first time.
Well, yeah, I remember. Yeah. I was here. I just don't remember this being such a controversy, and I feel like one way or the other, there should be a correct.
You know what? I actually love that. I think I'm going to message Preston tonight and see if he does have video of it.
Okay.
And if it's deleted, would we have a conspiracy on our hands?
Yeah. Well, if Preston says, "Oh, sorry, I lost the tape," I might be more on Cahills.
That was back when it was VHS, guys. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
It very possibly was VHS, but still, I got to think it's out there. I mean, there's no way it's not.
Yeah, I used to remember the coaches would get together like in an Applebee's parking lot to
and switch. Yeah, I did that all my childhood.
Yeah, and now it's give me your huddle password or whatever.
Oh yeah, that'd be really nice. I know somewhere I have VHSs of all my high school games. I should look into that.
Number 60.
Well, yeah, just because of that, for most of them, I had to switch it certain times, but just because of that, I mean, that was a few years before. I got to think this is on film somewhere. We got to find it. Look for that one. All right. Clark at Desert Pines.
Yeah. Clark, so Desert Pines had a game canceled, so Clark kind of stepped in so they each could have 9 games, and it turns out this is Desert Pines' homecoming game.
Oh, well, at least they scheduled a good homecoming because they're going to win big.
I agree.
All right. Man, this looks like a homer pick to me. Sunrise Mountain at Chaparral. Your Cowboys, this is one of the worst seasons they've had. They don't have the numbers. I don't feel like they have the Jimmies and Joes in your parlance. I don't see them beating Sunrise Mountain.
No, Case. You got to open your eyes. You got to be forward thinking. You got to be progressive, and you got to say this is Chaparral, the name on the front of the jersey, against Sunrise Mountain. I'll take the Cowboys.
All right, so we're different on two games now. I've got Sunrise Mountain and Cimarron. Brewer has Desert Oasis and Chaparral. Las Vegas at Durango.
Going to be a good game. Durango, I think, is 5-2 or 6-2, give or take.
I know nothing about this team this year.
Yeah, well, we've had a hard time getting hold of their coach all year.
Okay, I knew they weren't in our media day that I remember.
Yeah, and I don't have the coach's phone number, so I have zero reporting all year on him, which it is what it is. But I'm an East Side guy, so I'm going to go with the Kitty Cats.
Yeah, I've been impressed with Las Vegas this year. You just sang Coach Capetillo's praises, so I can't go against them here. I'll go with Las Vegas. This could low-key be a good one. Canyon Springs at Palo Verde. I got to think this is one of the closer games of the week.
Yeah, and I picked Palo based on the Gorman hangover theory. Palo's done a good job this year winning the games that they should. And I think this is a coin flip game, and I think that Palo's got some momentum because they didn't play Gorman last week.
Yeah, Palo did have a step back last week, though, against our review, but they had been trending in the right direction before that, right? They had a couple wins. Seems like they gotten better from their early season struggles. I'm going to go with Palo as well, but not very confident in it. I think that's a touchdown or less game. Faith Lutheran at Centennial will not be a touchdown or less game. Centennial, another one of those schools that's struggling with numbers, and I don't think Faith Lutheran's in the same camp. They've built up that program now and have some kids. I think they win big.
Yeah, I do too. Faith Lutheran, of course, last time they played 2 weeks ago, they got beat up pretty good by Liberty. So let's see the changes that are made.
All right, Valley at Virgin Valley. You kind of already teased this. Virgin Valley big.
Correct.
Legacy at Bishop Gorman. Oof, this might be the biggest blowout of all.
Yeah. The thing that's amazing for me is they start that running clock at 35, and yet people still get into the 60s.
And they probably will here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gorman's just tough to stop. It's a different animal.
And I hate to say it, it's semi-comical because Gorman's got like 80 players on their roster, and try to get all those kids in and out of a game real fast during a running clock. Literally, like the third string's running in for one play, and the fourth string's then coming in for a play, because the clock's running like that. So the anti-number problem.
Ooh, yeah. All right. One final game, and it is a good one. We touched on it earlier, but Slam has to get on the bus and go to Boulder City. These are two probably top 5 teams in the 3A. Break it down for me.
Yeah, so this one I had a hard time with. At the beginning of the year, everybody was raving about Slam. Got to talk to some of their guys and Coach Kofer, and they definitely passed the eye test, CK. And I would like to think that they've got more speed and size over Boulder, but Boulder has just been winning the close games. They're playing at home, which means something because that's a decent little drive. And I think Boulder's going to be slightly more organized, 100 more running the rock. They're going to, control the clock. And I think this is a coin flip game, and Boulder has won every coin flip this year. I got the Eagles again.
You were trying to talk me into Slam being a state championship contender just a few weeks ago.
I know.
I don't know. And
on that bandwagon.
Yeah, I'm going Slam here. I think they find a way to get it done. I do. I know Boulder City's got a good scheme up there. They might try to outman them, be the more physical team, but I think Slam has some explosive plays up their sleeves. I'm going to go with Slam, whose mascot I never even remember. What are they called?
The only thing I know is it's not Academy, it's Charter, because there was a Slam Academy, and I tweeted that Slam Academy beat whoever on Saturday or Friday, and Slam Academy retweeted me and said, hey, we've asked them to cease and desist and not use our name, and we'll ask you the same, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I missed all this.
Yeah.
So now they're Slam Charter?
I think they've always been Slam Charter.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, we've always called them Academy. So they're Slam. They got a really good wrestling team that's going to win state and be at our Sun Standout Awards.
Okay, very interesting. The Charter or Academy. I'm going to go with Slam Charter. That does it for the picks this week. Any parting thoughts before we sign off for another week?
No, sir. Appreciate your time.
All right. For Ray, I'm Case. Thanks for listening to Prep Sports Now.